Welcome. So this is the Thursday night, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna make this up as I go along and take you on a journey with me, yoga class. So I'm feeling kind of a little bit like I would like to do a reclining butterfly for a period of time. So we might start kind of a little in the yin end of the spectrum and then move to a little bit more of the hatha with maybe a little taste of flow. We'll see how things go. So if you want to join me with that, I feel like I have a cricket in my house. I keep hearing these little chirp, 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 chirp sounds. In any case, yet another pet I didn't mean to have. All right. So I'm going to take a blanket and roll it up because this is going to go underneath my knees because I like to have a little bit of support there. And then I'm going to do this elevated thing with my back. So I've got a long pillow. These work great, but you can use couch cushion or you could use a rolled up blanket like a quilt. Rolled up really tight is basically a yoga bolster. It's just batting with a cover on it. So something like that works really great. So I'm going to set this up so that what will happen is my head will be higher than my hips. So I'll be on a little bit of a slope. It's not too big. And then there'll be a little bit of support for my knees. Hopefully you're willing to go along with me on these notions. You know, you can do your reclining butterfly with none of this stuff. Just lie down, put your feet together, drop your knees open. Just in whatever way you like. Maybe you have like one little blanket, use that under your head or something along that line. Now this is really nice to me, having the shoulder kind of drop over something, so even just a rolled up blanket down your back would be nice, because it helps unwind some of this kind of tightness that can happen when we spend a little bit too much, maybe all day on the computer or other, just driving, other things where your arms are held forward of your torso instead of having a chance to dangle or move back. And then what I like about kind of hanging out with the pose for a while is it gives you a chance to breathe and settle mentally. Just get present. Maybe you've been, like I've been jumping through little hoops all day today, doing this little task and that little task, trying to get a bunch of stuff done before the weekend. And so if you've been doing that most of the day, it's nice to pause for a few moments and just be present. Take stock of your environment. Listen to the sounds around you. Give yourself permission to pause and notice your body. Maybe there's little spots that are extra tight today, now that you're noticing, or places where you're accidentally carrying tension, like around your eyebrows. Just let your body relax a little bit more. So I'm going to stay for one more minute. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the knees together. Oh. So then, before I go anywhere else, I'm just gonna kind of windshield wiper my legs back and forth, just kind of hanging out here. Eventually, when it feels like a good time, which might be 2 or 3 moments from now, I'm gonna just let myself roll to the side, slip the stuff out from underneath my back. Oh. Grab a strap, because I have a hankering to do some strap stretches with my legs. So I'll take you on that journey as well. Now, we'll get to that in just a second, but you know, have something, grab it if you need to kind of take a little journey to find your yoga strap. Now, if you don't have a yoga strap, use a towel, or dish towels work good. Dog leashes work great. A scarf would work. It's not too crazy stretchy. Just something that'll give you an opportunity to hold on to your foot. Yoga straps are awesome props. They're not crazy expensive. If you want to start investing in a yoga prop, the blocks and the straps are the best place to start. And sometimes you can even get them at places like the Five Below or the Dollar Tree. They're not the greatest quality, but they will get you started. So something to consider. You could put it on your Christmas list for your peeps, if such a thing exists in your world. Okay, so I've stopped with my legs in this kind of constructive rest position, so the feet are a little wider than my hips apart and far enough out that it feels comfortable, like my legs relax into the hip socket. That's what we're going for. I'm going to do a little bit of core work, so just get my, my belly warmed up a little bit, and I like it, it's fun. So my elbows are out to the sides, my hands are laced together, and my head is resting in the little basket of my hands. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can press my head backwards into my hands so my neck stays stable, and then I really have to focus on the abdominal muscles. And I'm just going to use this top layer of the rectus abdominis. This layer of muscle from about the belly button up to about the bottom of the breastbone, right there in the center, is largely responsible for the flexion of the spine. So flexion just means we're going to curl up in like a ball shape. Okay, so keeping my head nice and stable, exhaling and engaging that muscle intentionally. And it's not a big movement. You're not going to get your shoulders completely off the floor. Generally, it's going to be quite small movement. But just focus it so you're really paying attention and not pulling from the neck at all. And then I like the way it kind of begins to warm up my belly, and also it does some interesting things to my spine. Okay, 2 more. All right, so now I'm going to concentrate a little bit more on the obliques. Those are the muscles that wrap around the sides, and they're responsible for twisting. So I'm going to put one ankle up on top, so my left ankle on top of the right. I'm taking my right elbow towards my left knee. And try to notice how the left side has to kind of squeeze in to make that twisting possible. So try to generate all of the movement from squeezing the left side. It's a little more complex than that, but it's fun to pay attention. So again, keep pressing your head into your hands. We're going to do 3 more, I think. Back to the center point. I find it really fun when I do something that's asymmetrical like this to kind of notice, is there a difference in kind of the way the muscles feel on one side versus the other? Is there like a little warmth? Is there a tingliness? Is there, sometimes there's kind of a light or effervescent feeling. It's fun. I think it's fun. So anyway, I've got my right ankle up on top so we can do the other side. So I'm going to keep the head pressing back. And again, try to generate that movement all from the side waist. my right leg, just kind of give it a stretch out. Oh, just giving my hip flexor a little bit of length, and then I'm going to bring my knee in, grab hold of it, give it a squeeze. Oh, stretch the left leg out. Give that side a little stretch. Oh, and then let the left leg kind of rest and spin the right foot in circles. And go the other direction. And then we're going to point and flex. Now, I'm going to take hold of a strap, pop it around the ball of my foot, and then I'm going to extend the leg. Now, I like to keep the leg straighter and then farther away in order to adjust for the hamstrings, rather than bringing the leg closer in and have to bend the knee. Because when I keep my leg straighter and move farther away, I get the stretch more in the center of the leg and less right down here by the sit bone. So if I bend my knee and pull my leg in really close, it feels like it all gathers right in this one point of the sit bone. So feel it out for yourself, kind of experiment. You can experiment with the leg turning a little inward or outward. You can pull the toes down and push up through the heel. So you've got lots of kind of room for playing with the stretch so that you can adjust, accordingly, make it just right for you. What I like about yoga straps is that you can make a loop, and loops are kind of a little nicer to hold on to than just the end of the strap. So that would be why I would recommend getting one, but again, you don't have to, just use a towel. I do it sometimes when I can't find my strap. I'm kind of hanging out with the stretch, and we're going to stay for about 90 seconds or so with each stretch, give or take. That's about the minimum in terms of these deep tissue areas where we really get to feel the benefit. If we stay too short, there's minimal benefit to having done that work. And there's arguments in a variety of ways around stretching and its efficacy anyway, but for my purposes, what I notice is if I stay for at least that long, I do feel a little bit like I have a smoother range of motion. Doesn't necessarily increase my range of motion, but everything moves smoother and it feels nicer. And so that all by itself, I think, is a winning idea. If everything moves a little more smoothly, I feel like a little more like a gazelle and a little less like a rhinoceros in everyday activities, then that feels like a bonus point. Okay, so about 3 more breaths on this side. So now I'm going to go for the inside edge of my leg, and I find that if I put a little bit of support underneath the edge of my hip, that helps me kind of find a place where I can push my thigh into that support, and I like the way that feels. So you can experiment with that. You can go all the way to the floor, then my other hip comes off the ground a little bit. And I also find walls or furniture, if it's sturdy enough, you can kind of press your foot into it, and that offers similar resistance. And again, you may experiment with, should my knee be straighter or should it be bent? It might be different in this inner thigh versus the hamstrings. Same rules may not apply. So experiment. like this cricket is trying to talk over me. It's like we're having a vice presidential debate or something. Me and this cricket. Oh goodness. Okay, so it gives you about 3 more breaths here. Okay, so now I'm going to take the strap off because I want to do the twist without the strap. But you could leave your foot there and go over into the twist and keep your legs straight. That's also a nice pose. I'm just going to take my leg across with the knee bent and kind of wrap it around the bottom one. And I'm going to add some support because that sounds like a plan. And then rotate my head away from the legs. Sometimes I prefer to keep my head going towards, but this week I'm enjoying the opposite rotation. So you can experiment. Again, you and your neck have to get along later because you guys are attached to each other. And by you, I mean your brain or your heart, whichever one you identify with more. Oh my goodness. I identify a lot with my stomach, so for me, maybe it's my stomach. In any case, you can choose whichever one you think is going to be better off for your neck. Oh. I'm laughing and laughing about this cricket, and you guys probably can't even hear it, but you can tell me later, or if you can hear the cricket. So I'm moving this hip a little bit farther away from this armpit, just by kind of tilting it downward, and oh, it feels good. Oh. So we're going to take a couple more, like 3 or 4 more breaths. I think maybe 4 is going to be better than nothing. Oh. All right, take a big breath. And then we're going to come on back to the center. Oh my gosh, the cricket, the cricket. Shh. 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 I know there's some like dream interpretation, kind of interpretation of crickets in your house. Like there's certain signs about, nature signs, and there's something about crickets. I'm gonna have to look it up and find out what it is. Hopefully it's not terrible. In any case, hopefully it means money is coming. That would be awesome. So, and then you guys get to have it too, because the cricket sound is in your house as well. Okay, I'll let you know what it is, only if it's good. So I come back to this little constructive rest position. I'm just going to give myself some little windshield wipers. Oh goodness. It's just more Halloween fun for all of us. Okay, so then I'm going to take this right leg, lift the toes, stretch it out nice and big. Bring my left leg in. Oh, give it a hug. And then I'll just spin my foot in some circles. And the other direction. And then point and flex. leg in. And then we're going to take the strap up, put it up, put this leg up in the strap. How's that? And again, play with your version of this so that you have the right amount of sensation. We'll stay for about 90 seconds or so. Oh. Do about 4 more breaths here. Okay, then I'm taking my leg out to the side here. Gotta get my little support. I wish it were like a little tree frog and there's a little tree frog in my apartment, because that would be a better pet than a cricket. It's probably a cricket. Little tree frogs are cute. Hush, little friend, hush. There can't be that much going on out there. You have to tell everybody about it. About 4 more breaths. Okay, so I'm coming around. Again, I'm going to take this twist, just like that. Just kind of bend and wrap around. Add a little support. Every time I get excited that the tree frog is done for the time being, I'm going to start calling it a tree frog just so I can manifest it that way. It's not done. breaths here. Alrighty, I'm coming on back to the center. Gonna give myself a little back massage. Goodness, I encourage you to do the same. Now, here's what is essentially gonna happen. I'm gonna eventually roll myself up and over and do some things, like maybe a little child's pose, a little cat shapes, maybe some downward facing dog. I'm gonna do a bunch of that kind of stuff. Just in motion, wiggling around, liquefied versions of those kinds of poses. And then eventually I'm gonna stand up. So I'm gonna just suggest that you use this next, let's say, 1.5 to 2 minutes and move around in whatever ways seem good to you. Oh. Probably start again now. It's over there near you guys for sure. All right, so I'm in a mountain pose. kinda, sorta. Mostly a mountain pose. Toes pointing forward. And then I'm just gonna kind of, just for a second, just give myself a little dancey, jiggly movement. Because I'm not sure where this is going yet. Okay, I think we're going to take this into a tree, just in honor of our friend, who's clearly had a lot to say. Oh. Now, I think I'm going to step back. A wide angle forward bend sounded nice. So if you have a mind to do something like that, join me there. If you have another thought for yourself, I'm not gonna stop you. your house. Okay, I feel like this is gonna be a little bit in motion. So I'm gonna fold forward and then kind of play with wandering from one side to the other. So I've turned my feet out a little bit. And then I might adjust again as I get to each corner. Yeah, that's feeling kind of nice. Let's go in that direction. I think this is going to turn into a lunge in a moment. So let's go this way. Pick a side. Bring the one knee to the ground, and then the other leg is going to be kind of our lungy leg. I'm gonna do this. I've got both hands on the floor. I'm kind of facing at a diagonal with my torso. And then I'm just going back and forth as much as my body says is okay to go. How far forward does it feel okay to go? And then how far back? I'm gonna sit this down and turn it into a different shape. So I'm gonna take my hips all the way down to the ground. Take this leg backwards. So I'm coming out, getting a little more length underneath here. Coming around one more time. Just kind of tilting that armpit up. And then I'll take this little side bend. If I had known that all I had to do to shut that thing up was go over there and hang out, scare it a little, would have done that a long time ago. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. Oh. Just playing with my arm position. I invite you to kind of do something similar, unless something else sounds good to you. This leg position doesn't seem so great, change it. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this guy out of that position, and I'm gonna turn it into a lunge on the other side. Back and forth. Kind of just paying attention, noticing how that sort of side bendy action has changed the way this feels in my body. So my torso feels a little different, a little asymmetrical for right this second. Just watching that change. Okay, I'm gonna hang out right here for just a second because I'm liking the way that lunge feels right now. I'm going to come all the way back with the hip. And again, you can adjust the legs. You don't have to do it this way. But I'm going to get a little bit of space under this armpit. Back up. Get a little bit more space. And then one more time. Two more breaths. Okay, so I'm going to come around with this leg. And then I'm going to wind up taking that back all the way back to downward dog. Eventually. Again, I'm just going to kind of liquefy this dog a little bit. Oh, he's back. All right, we're coming back to a mountain pose. And we'll just have to deal with the peepers as they are. Okay, so I got a treat to do on the other side. So I'm going to take my weight over to the left leg and give this little tree frog a place to be. Or cricket, whatever it is. step out. Take that wide angle again, and this time I feel like I want to do a squat. I'm going to turn around just so it's easier to see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do this little shoulder squat. So squatting, rolling one shoulder forward, one shoulder back, and then what I'm essentially trying to do is get my right shoulder blade to go up and towards the center, and the left shoulder blade to go down and toward the center. So see if they're not going to go like that, but it's, I'm trying. And then the other way. So left shoulder blade up, right shoulder blade down. I find turning my head helps. I'm kind of pushing against my legs just a little bit so I have that resistance. One more on this side. I'm going to turn it into the wide angle all by itself. Just a forward bend. And again, you can add different variations if you want to lace your fingers together, or grab your ankles, or do like little grasshopper legs, whatever you think is the best. In honor of our friend, we could do grasshopper legs, in case he's a grasshopper. Right, I'm going to come all the way up. I'm feeling some half moon balance, so if you're up for it with me, I'm going to do one side and then I'm going to come back to that forward bend and do another one on the other side. Whee! Get myself steady. I'll join the join the cricket / tree frog, whatever it is, in making entirely too much noise. Coming back to the forward bend. And again, you can kind of play with the positioning. Sometimes I find it really nice to have something to put my head on. It gives me that sort of pressure of a headstand without actually having to do a headstand. That's nice. Because the light pressure is kind of pleasant. All right, so I'm coming around the other side, taking this guy. Howling at the moon. That did not make my French hush, though. Whatever it was that made it hush, it has lost its fear and is now just doing its thing. All right, so enough about the cricket. Just gonna find my way back to this mountain pose. Now, one of the things I love about half moon balance is how it makes me feel. I always feel like I like to refer to it like as like the latte espresso shot pose, because it just makes me feel very energized and light and kind of empowered in a way. Notice what's true for you. And I'm going to do some chairs. So I'm going to kind of swing in and out of chair into some forward bend. Into chair, into a forward bend. This may or may not be just right for you, so you can play with it. And then I'm going to step into Warrior 2 on my next kind of journey upwards. Stepping it back. And then just kind of fiddle so your legs feel like they're just right. Oh. And I love this little transition between reverse warrior and side angle. Sometimes a little too much, maybe. Oh. Mm. All right, I'm gonna come into triangle. Oh, I might use a block. I'm gonna try it without. And again, for me it's kind of fun to come in and out of yoga poses a few times before I finally land in one. So I sort of feel the edges, like what's tight tonight. Spread out my toes because I feel a little wobbly and I'm starting to grip. Oh. So one more. Then I'm going to come back, if I can, right into my chair. Into the forward bend. Into the chair. Into the forward bend. One more. Chair. Forward bend, and then the chair is going to put me in a position to step back on the other side into warrior two. Oh. Okay, so now I'm going to find my triangle pose. Last breath. Okie dokie. Once again, I'm gonna see, if I can step right into my chair and then into my forward bend. And again, I'm just gonna kind of keep this a little tighter than the last, the really wide ones, but also liquefy this guy just a little bit. So if I could, I would just squat and sit down on the floor. The floor is way too far away from me, so I'm gonna squat for a moment, and then I'm gonna get down onto the floor. But you are welcome to squat. Just sit right on down if your squat takes you that close. It feels good. Just check it in for a second. Listening to our insistent concert. I had my patio doors open earlier. I'm going to assume that someone found their way in and now wishes they were out. Okay. So I'm going to do 3 different things with the legs out wide. I'm going to do a twist, which I'm just going to stay in for a little while. Then I'm going to forward bend. Then I'm going to go to the center, and then I'll repeat twist, forward bend, center. So if you're up for that, you can join me on this little journey. You could also do a butterfly leg if you want to do that, or have your legs in a different position. Like, you can change it up. This is one of my favorite positions, but my anatomy allows for it and yours may not. So I put a blanket under my knees, so there's a little bit of softness and a little support so I don't hyperextend the knee. And then I'm gonna turn, and there's a point where I can feel my hips tilt. And I'm just gonna go right up to that point and pause so that I still have an even amount of weight in both my sit bones. You can, if your low back is a little cranky, you can actually send that hip a little further forward and it'll take some of that pressure away. It's okay to let the pelvis help you twist if you, especially if you have low back issues. It's okay. My goal is always to get my upper back to do all of the twist because that's where all the stress and tension lives. And when I twist with my upper back, it helps release the stress and tension when I let it go. So I'm more inclined to want to focus on that area, but focus on the appropriate place for you. Oh, and you know, that it shouldn't feel crummy. Yoga poses aren't supposed to feel crummy. So if they do, I would suggest adjusting them. This is a different school of thought than the old school, I recognize. But this is the school I live in. Yoga should make you feel good, or at least like some freedom is happening. It might be a little bit intense, but freedom after is the goal. Oh. 2 more breaths here. All right, I'm folded over this leg, so just kind of release the twist just a little bit. And I've got a little bit more action going on. I've bent my knee a little bit. I'm pulling up on my quad, so it's like I'm trying to lift my kneecap. I've got my toes stretching out as far as my toes stretch. Without trying to pull them back too much, I'm just trying to keep them kind of straight up and down, but stretch them apart. And then I've got my ankle flexed. So it's just a little bit more structure, a little bit more action than I would do if I were doing this in a yin world where everything would be really soft and relaxed. I like engaging the quad. It gives me something to work with in terms of lengthening my spine as well. Oh, see if that happens for you. 2 more breaths. All right, so now I'm going to take it straight down the middle, and it's going to feel weird because I've done one side, but I haven't done the other. And that's sort of the notion, so I'm just going to see what the differences are. Like this whole leg feels a little bigger than this leg. If I close my eyes and don't look at the fact that they're not, it feels that way. There's a real pleasant warmth, especially on the top of my thigh from all that action of holding my kneecap up. Notice what's true for you. I'm keeping my spine kind of tall, which is why I'm not taking my forehead towards the ground, but you could round your back if that's available. Some people, the pelvis will rotate so far forward they can pretty much, you know, belly, chest, face all planted on the floor, but that is not in my world. About a 45-degree angle, give or take a few points, is about what I get. So a couple more breaths here. I think I'm going to stay for about 4. Okay, so before I do the other side, I'm going to come all the way back and give myself a little rinse. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is twist, and again, I'm stopping right at that point where I start to feel the pelvis want to move forward, just pausing right before that point. But again, you may decide you want to slide that hip forward a little bit to help take any pressure out of your low back that just suddenly appeared. If you have sacroiliac issues or slight dysfunction there, you'll feel it. And see what happens if you let the hip kind of shift forward a little bit. If it takes all that discomfort out, yay. done listening to me. Maybe. I'm going to take about 3 more breaths here. Okay, so then just kind of staying in this area, in this kind of direction, I'm going to fold in. Again, kind of engage through the quads. Now, my right side and my left side are very different creatures. So I really do, even though I'm doing all the same actions, I feel different in the hip, feels a little different in the thigh, feels a little different even in the side of my waist. Right around the low back where the latissimus dorsi muscle kind of comes down. That's all different on my right side. So it's my guess is that it's all tugging together, right? There's different tight things, some scar tissue, other things all on this side. And so it's all one big sweater, our bodies. So I'm just feeling all of that ripple through my system there. On up. And then the last thing I'm going to do is go forward one more time. So now I've done both sides, but I've still done one side recently. So it's fun, again, just to notice, are there differences than the last time? Are those differences even more different than just the left to right situation? Like, does one side feel radically different, or do they feel closer together? It's just kind of checking things out, man. Three more breaths. I'm gonna inhale my way up. And again, I'm gonna lean back, I'm gonna bend my knees, I'm gonna give everything a little bit of movement. Oh, try not to set my hair on fire behind me. Okay, so I want to do an inversion, and I'm going to do this little like supported bridge with this bolster, and I might use blocks, but I think I'm just going to use the bolster and my blanket. You could do like a legs up the wall, legs over a chair, legs up the couch, legs up the bed, whatever room you're in. If you've got a piece of furniture that would let you like kind of put your butt up against it and throw your legs up or over it, that is a really lovely inversion. You can use other things besides pillows. You could use blocks or a folded up blanket to create a lift for your back. Now, the way I'm gonna do this essentially is I'm gonna put my shoulders down on this blanket, and everything else, the rest of my back is gonna be supported by the bolster. Often, I do this sideways, but tonight I'm gonna do it long ways. So it's just a little bit different. I'll just make sure I've got a little bit of room for my feet to go. Okay. So I'm gonna sit on this guy, and then I'm gonna lay backwards. Oh, and hopefully, yeah, my shoulder blades are gonna find the floor. And I'm gonna go to the point where like the farthest down I can go on this pillow and still have my shoulder blades touch the ground. Okay, so neck and shoulders are supported by the blanket. The rest of my spine and my hips are supported by the bolster, but like there's a little bit of a drop off on the edges here so that I can do this kind of wide, cactus armed supported bridge pose. Now you could prop the feet up a little higher, but this gives me a really nice hip flexor stretch, and it's partly because I have this room on the outside edges. So if this feels good to you, and my low back is supported by the pillow so it doesn't feel crummy, you can try this out and see how it works for you. While we are serenaded by nature's creatures. Now I'm going to hang with this for about 2 minutes. That's about how long feels okay or feels good. If it gets a little too intense, often this works better. So just kind of put the feet on the ground. That puts more weight on my shoulders and my neck. So for a bit, I'm going to keep my legs out straight, but you know, about halfway through I might change my mind. Oh, I like this feeling of kind of being almost lifted off the ground by my hip flexors. Be a little bit closer to my kitchen because when the water comes on or the hot water heater turns itself on, it's hushing for a second. It is no longer enchanted by my voice, but it is hushing for a second when other things come and go. Oh. I'm just kind of experimenting with how heavy my shoulders can get within this little bridge shape so that I've got 2 different experiences. Oh. So I'm going to stay for about 4 more breaths, and then I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm just going to stay on the bolster, but I'm going to do something different with my legs. So essentially what I'm going to do is, it's almost like a swan or a pigeon pose. I'm going to put my legs into that position, but I'm upside down, right on? So this leg is going to hang over so I get a little stretch through the hip flexor. There's this little sense of a back bend, and then I'm just going to bring this leg in. Now, I keep my foot flexed and my knee and my toes pointing in the same direction. That protects my knee here because the shin bones are not twisting or torquing in any way. So now I feel this pose in my hip and not in my knee. So this leg gives me this kind of pigeon shape, but it's kinder, a little bit kinder to my knees, a little bit kinder to my hip socket, because the weight of my body isn't resting on that point, on that pivot point. And so I like it. And the elevation here is something that's kind of new. I've been experimenting with this for a few months now, and I'm digging it. Now you can also let go of the foot and just hold the thigh and kind of maintain this kind of external rotation if you like, if that works better for you. Sometimes I'll just hold on. I'll try not to fall off the bolster, but just hold on to the big toe with my peace sign fingers. That also sometimes works. Oh. So I'm going to take this about 4 or 5 more breaths here. I'll just adjust the angle, see how that feels. Oh, it feels really good. Let go of that side, and really gently I'm just going to start by putting this foot on the floor, and then I'm going to bring its friend up. So now both my feet are on the floor, and then just so this hip socket feels like it's 4 inches deeper than this hip socket. It's not, but it feels there's a really groovy sense of relaxation right in this hip. And again, this is how I know whether I'm doing good things or not, right? Is I feel like, okay, I just experimented with a pose. What happened? And I try to take stock. And if what happened is, oh gosh, that's sore, that does not feel good, then I don't do it that way again, or I don't do it at all again. But if it feels like this, oh, just like my whole, like this whole hip is just melted into the earth, then I'm inclined to do my other side. So judge based on the way your body feels. Again, for me, keeping the knee and the toes positioned so they're aligned, almost like mountain pose in that way, and then the foot flexed. That is the key for me, being able to make these little adjustments. And then the other leg, stretches out. Now you can keep that knee bent and the foot on the floor if you want to. I found like there's different sensations when I move my leg into different places, and this hip is different than the other hip, so I'm just going to kind of follow the guidelines set out by my hips. What do they want to do tonight? This is really lovely, kind of like just letting this thigh turn around just a little bit more and bringing it more toward the center. Ooh, it feels nice. I'm gonna hang on with this hand and let go with this hand and see if that changes things. I don't like it as much. It does make me feel a little topplier, like I'm gonna fall over on one side, so I'm just being mindful. About 4 more breaths here. All right, so I'm gonna take this leg and just, really gently put that baby down. Bring the other one up. Now I'm gonna roll to the side, slip this guy out from under my back. Because that's going under my legs in just a moment. But first, windshield wipers. This is one of my favorite things. So there are days where my yoga practices, I lay down, I do windshield wipers, I do a few minutes of shavasana, and I call it a day. That's legal. If you do it mindfully, it's technically yoga. If it turns into a nap, maybe not yoga, but mindfully, yes. And then a little kind of back massage where you bring the legs in. That feels really nice. Okay, I'm gonna put a pillow under my legs because it helps my hip flexors really relax into my back. And then my, lumbar curve, which is usually a little bit exaggerated. Shout out to all the people with little junk in their trunk. Anyway, this helps that whole thing relax, and my pelvis stays nice and neutral, and the curve under my low back is just the right amount of curve, not big enough for hamsters to go under, but just big enough for my back to be happy. And then I've got this little blanket. I'm going to adjust my hairdo and the blanket so that my head feels like it's well supported without causing trouble for my neck. And then shoulder blades snuggle in, and find the place where your arms relax best. Now this pose is often skipped by people who are new to yoga. Don't skip this pose. This pose is for your nervous system. And if you need to do it later, that's cool. You can certainly go do something else, but come back to this pose at some point. Because conscious relaxation, consciously letting go, is so important in our kind of overscheduled, stressed out, right now, hyper-vigilant lives. We need this little bit of time. So we're kind of sliding into the parasympathetic nervous system. Sliding into our parasympathetic nervous system's DMs. So we're really in touch with that relaxation response of the body. You want to feel your face start to unwind. Feel the lips get a little fluffier and the jaw soften, and the backs of your eyes grow a little heavier into the sockets. Feel that kind of animal portion of your brain, that little back brain stemmy area, just let go of its vigilance and relax. You might even feel like the whole brain just gently lets itself settle to the center line, so it's not pushed up against your forehead. And let your arm bones kind of drop a little deeper into the shoulder socket, and the fingers just fall away from one another. And feel the leg bones just gently drop right into the hip sockets. And feel the bones of the feet and the toes just gently fall away from one another. So the whole body begins to let go, unwind. Drop the vigilance. Just really gently, just notice your breath again. Don't go anywhere yet, but notice. Notice how the inhale almost has a sense that it moves downward into the body, right? Feel the breath ripple downward toward the feet, or at least towards the pelvic floor. And then notice how the exhale feels lighter, moves upwards and out. Inhale brings a sense of groundedness, support. And the exhale gives us freedom to move and to progress. Take a nice big breath. Let go with a really big ah. I love a good sigh. Wiggle your fingers and toes, spread them apart, wiggle them again. Spread them apart, wiggle them again. And then stretch yourself out. Oh, goodness. Curl it into a ball. So, after you've given your favorite yogi a hug, roll onto your side, and when you're ready, come on up. Thank you so much for joining me for some funky Hatha yoga. Whatever Candy wants to do on a Thursday night. Thank you for joining me and taking the ride. Let's take a nice big breath. And a big sigh. Namaste, yogis.